fusion. On April 22, 2025, a day that will be remembered in Ghanaian history, President John Mahama made the controversial decision to suspend Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, a move that has sparked intense debate and widespread concern. This unprecedented move sent shockwaves through the nation, with many questioning the legality and motivations behind such a drastic action. The suspension has raised serious concerns about the separation of powers, a fundamental principle in any democracy, and the future of judicial independence in Ghana. Legal experts and political commentators are now debating the potential long-term impacts of this decision on the country's democratic institutions. Never before in the nation's history had a Chief Justice been suspended, making this a landmark event that has captured the attention of the international community. This act struck at the heart of Ghana's democracy, leaving citizens questioning the motives behind such a drastic decision. The suspension, effective immediately, has led to widespread speculation and debate among the populace. Many are wondering what this means for the future of their country and its democratic values. The suspension followed the acceptance of 3 petitions filed against Chief Justice Torkornoo, each alleging serious misconduct and bias. These petitions, shrouded in secrecy, have only added to the controversy, with many calling for transparency and a fair investigation. Allegedly, the Chief Justice was accused of misconduct and bias, charges that have yet to be fully substantiated in the public eye. The President, after consultations with the Council of State, determined that a prima facie case existed, warranting the suspension and further investigation. This decision has been met with mixed reactions, with some supporting the move as necessary for justice, while others see it as a dangerous precedent. The suspension has plunged Ghana into a state of uncertainty, with potential ramifications extending far beyond the walls of the courtroom. Citizens are now left to ponder the future of their judiciary and the integrity of their democratic processes. As the nation waits for the next steps in this unfolding drama, the world watches closely, hoping that Ghana will navigate this crisis with the same resilience and commitment to democracy that it has shown in the past. Ghana's 1992 Constitution, a document upheld as a cornerstone of the nation's democracy, outlines the procedure for the removal or suspension of a Chief Justice in Article 146. This article is not just a set of rules but a testament to the country's commitment to maintaining a balance of power and ensuring that no single entity can operate without checks and balances. This article provides a framework for ensuring accountability while safeguarding the judiciary from arbitrary political interference. It is designed to protect the integrity of the judicial system, ensuring that judges can perform their duties without fear of undue influence or reprisal. However, the recent suspension of Chief Justice Torkornoo has ignited fervent debate about the interpretation and application of this very article. The controversy has brought to light differing opinions on what constitutes stated misbehavior or incompetence, and whether the current political climate has influenced this decision. According to Article 146, the President has the power to remove or suspend a Chief Justice based on grounds of stated misbehavior or incompetence. This power, however, is not absolute and must be exercised with caution and in accordance with the due process of law. This process is initiated by a petition to the President by citizens or groups. The petition must clearly outline the allegations and provide sufficient evidence to warrant further investigation. This ensures that the process is not misused for personal or political vendettas. The President then consults with the Council of State, a body established to advise the President on matters of national importance. The Council's role is crucial as it provides an additional layer of scrutiny and ensures that the decision to proceed is not taken lightly. If the Council finds merit in the petition, the President can then appoint a committee to investigate the allegations. This committee is tasked with conducting a thorough and impartial investigation, ensuring that all parties are heard and that the principles of natural justice are upheld. The findings of this committee will ultimately determine whether the Chief Justice will be removed or reinstated, reflecting the seriousness with which such matters are treated in Ghana's constitutional framework. The heart of this constitutional crisis lies in the allegations leveled against Chief Justice Torkornoo. While the specific details of the petitions remain shrouded in secrecy, sources suggest accusations of misconduct, bias in high-profile political cases, and misuse of state resources. These allegations, leveled primarily by the ruling National Democratic Congress, paint a picture of a judiciary under the sway of partisan interests. Torkornoo, however, vehemently denies these allegations, claiming them to be politically motivated, and a blatant attempt to undermine her authority and the independence of the judiciary. She maintains that her decisions have always been guided by the principles of fairness, impartiality, and the rule of law. Her supporters echo these sentiments, viewing the suspension as a calculated move to silence dissenting voices and consolidate power. The suspension of Chief Justice Torkornoo has not been met with silence. Instead, it has sparked a wave of public outcry and protests that have swept across the nation. On the contrary, it has ignited a firestorm of public outcry and protests. The streets of Accra and other major cities have been flooded with demonstrators, all united in their demand for justice and transparency. Hundreds of Ghanaians, outraged by what they perceive as an assault on the judiciary, have taken to the streets to voice their dissent. The sheer number of protesters is a testament to the widespread discontent and the gravity of the situation. Led by the opposition New Patriotic Party and supported by various civil society groups, these protests reflect the deep anxieties surrounding the state of Ghana's democracy. The opposition leaders have been vocal, accusing the government of overstepping its bounds and threatening the independence of the judiciary. The protesters, a diverse group united in their cause, accuse President Mahama of orchestrating a blatant power grab and undermining the very foundations of Ghana's democracy. Their voices echo through the streets, calling for accountability and the restoration of judicial independence. Their chants of justice for Torkornoo and uphold the Constitution reverberate through the streets, reflecting a deep-seated fear that this suspension sets a dangerous precedent for executive overreach. The protesters are not just fighting for the reinstatement of Chief Justice Torkornoo, but for the very principles that uphold their democracy. The nation watches with bated breath as this constitutional crisis unfolds, uncertain of what the future holds for Ghana's democracy. The outcome of these protests and the government's response will undoubtedly shape the political landscape of the country for years to come. The eyes of the world are on Ghana, as its citizens stand at a crossroads, fighting to protect the integrity of their democratic institutions. The suspension of Chief Justice Torkornoo has plunged Ghana into a maelstrom of political criticisms and debates. The opposition, led by the NPP, has been unsparing in its condemnation, accusing the ruling NDC of weaponizing the constitution for political gain. They argue that this suspension is a blatant attempt to silence a dissenting voice within the judiciary and consolidate the NDC's grip on power. This sentiment is echoed by various civil society organizations and legal experts who view the suspension as a dangerous precedent, eroding the separation of powers and undermining the rule of law. They argue that the allegations against Chief Justice Torkornoo, even if true, do not warrant such a drastic step as suspension and highlight the lack of transparency and due process in the proceedings. This is not the first time Ghana has grappled with the contentious issue of removing a Chief Justice. The ghosts of past suspensions loom large over the current crisis, casting a long shadow of doubt and suspicion. In 2015, Chief Justice Loretta Lamptey faced impeachment proceedings over allegations of misconduct and misappropriation of funds. Similarly, in 2018, Chief Justice Charlotte Osai was removed from office following a committee recommendation citing stated misbehavior and incompetence. These past incidents, while differing in their specifics, share striking similarities with the current situation. They all involved allegations of misconduct against high-ranking judicial officials, leading to their removal or suspension. Critics argue that these incidents point to a disturbing pattern of political interference in the judiciary, with the executive branch using its power to silence dissenting voices within the judicial system. Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, the third woman to hold this esteemed position in Ghana's history, had a distinguished career marked by her commitment to justice and the rule of law. Appointed by former President Nana Akufo-Addo in June 2023, she was seen as a beacon of hope, a symbol of progress and gender equality in a traditionally male-dominated field. However, this recent suspension threatens to tarnish her legacy, casting a shadow of doubt over her accomplishments and raising questions about the fairness and transparency of the process. Torkornoo's supporters argue that her suspension is a grave injustice, a politically motivated attack aimed at silencing a strong, independent voice within the judiciary. They point to her impeccable record, her unwavering commitment to upholding the Constitution, and her courageous defense of judicial independence as evidence of her integrity. The suspension of Chief Justice Torkornoo has raised a specter of judicial interference that threatens to undermine public trust in Ghana's legal system. The judiciary, as the third arm of government, plays a crucial role in upholding the rule of law, safeguarding human rights, and ensuring accountability. However, this delicate balance is threatened when the executive branch, through actions like this suspension, appears to exert undue influence over the judiciary. The perception of judicial independence is as crucial as its reality. When citizens believe that judges are not free to make impartial decisions based on the law, their trust in the entire legal system erodes. This can have far-reaching consequences, leading to a decline in the rule of law, increased corruption, and a weakening of democratic institutions. The suspension of Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo has sent ripples of uncertainty and apprehension throughout Ghanaian society. It has eroded public trust not only in the judiciary, but also in the government's commitment to upholding the principles of democracy and the rule of law. The swiftness and secrecy surrounding the suspension have only deepened these concerns, leaving many citizens questioning the motives behind this unprecedented move. The Ghanaian people, known for their unwavering belief in democratic values, are now grappling with a sense of betrayal and disillusionment. They see this suspension as a blatant attempt to silence dissenting voices and consolidate power, setting